I'll call the regular meeting Monday, January the 11th, 2021 of Page County Public Schools to order. We have to do the BDD. At this time, we have to, according to board policy, approve Mr. Googler, who's participating by electronic participation. All in favor? Oh, we have to do a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Okay, now your roll call.
Mr. Goodwin.
Abstain.
No, are you there?
Are you there? Are you here?
Yes.
Mr. Lansbury?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Dr. Painter?
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan Snoot? Yes. Mr. Breeder?
Yes.
All present.
Now we have a time for a moment of silence. Thank you. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any agenda changes or additions?
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
We have
You have one?
to code of conduct for the board to sign.
Do they have a copy of that?
We
Okay.
have to add that
Underneath
4.0.
4.04. And then we each sign, correct? Okay, thank you. I move for a motion for to certify our closed session discussed in closed session pursuant to section 2.2-3711A1. Have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we certify all personnel matters discussed in closed meeting according to section 2.23711A1.
Have a second?
Second.
Is this a yay or? All in favor, say yay. Aye. Or it's a roll call?
Mr. Lansbury?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Dr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Goodwin?
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan Snoot?
Yes.
Mr. Breeder?
Yes.
The motion passed.
And now it's citizens' comments. Do we have any that signed up tonight or on through the website?
There we have the and no one shall show up.
Okay. Okay, so we move forward with action items, claims for payment, and that's Mrs. Seeker.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. You all have been provided with the claim certification where the total operating fund expenditures were $242,966. The
school food service was $41,881.10 for a total of $284,847.10. Along with that, you were provided with the list of claims as well as the check register. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Are there any questions? Oh, yeah. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the claims for payment as presented.
Second.
Second.
Okay.
Thank you.
And vote. Oh, any discussion? Okay, with no discussion?
Mr. Payne?
Yes.
Dr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Bugler?
Yes.
Mr. Lansbury?
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. This is for approval of purchase of orders over 10,000. It's also Ms. Secrets.
Yes, board members, we have one purchase order over 10,000 for your approval this evening. It is for iReady as well as the toolbox and professional development, and that is going to be paid using Title I funds. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer those as well.
We do the 3-year start.
Yes, this is for a 3-year contract.
No, but like what 3 years? Is it like 3 full school years or January of 2021 through?
So when does the first year start?
Because I know they have to do diagnostic tests and things, and we don't have kids there to do it.
Right. I am trying to look on this invoice for a particular start date. This was given to Mr. Hopkins, so let me see if I can see here when that would start.
Is I ready?
Yeah,
I thought that was this year, this spring.
yeah,
That's
I thought so
here.
too, but I don't see a date on here particularly.
So that's kind of odd. Since they have so much testing to put them in what level they're supposed to be in.
Right. And I do not see a particular date on this set of
But we're trying
paperwork.
to start
that was-
professional development. Mr. Benson couldn't be here tonight, but I can verify for you. We can get back to the board. But it was to start the professional development. So I imagine you have to pay in order to get access to it to start the trainings.
So the professional development will start now, not the student.
I don't
Yes.
believe so, but I know the professional development is starting.
Okay.
And that was one of the reasons
Okay.
to start the training.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion for approval of purchase orders over 10,000?
I make a motion to approve the purchase order over 10,000 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Dr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Bugler?
Yes.
Mr. Lansbury?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes. And do I have a motion? Do I have a motion for matters discussed in closed session?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve the actions on matters discussed in closed session to include the appointments, transfers, resignations, and legal matters.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Oh, that's right. We already discussed all that.
Mr. Bugler?
Yes.
Mr. Lansbury?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Dr. Painter?
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Motion passed.
And we're moving into informational items. Oh, I've already on this one and I didn't take it over there. All right, thank you. We have the next one for approval of the code of conduct. Do they have a copy of it?
They do not. Give it to you, but
Okay,
Sure. You're
You go ahead.
The VSBA Code of Conduct for School Board Members. As a member of my local school board, I will strive to be an advocate for students and to improve public education, and to that end, I will have integrity in all matters and support the full development of all children and the welfare of the community, commonwealth, and nation. I will attend scheduled board meetings. I will come to board meetings informed concerning the issues under consideration. I will make policy decisions based on the available facts and the appropriate public input. I will delegate authority to the administration of the schools to the superintendent and establish a process for accountability of administrators. I will encourage individual board members' expression of opinion and establish an open two-way communication process with all segments of the community. I will communicate in accordance with board policy, public reaction, and opinion regarding board policies and school programs to the full board and superintendent. I will bring about desired changes through legal and ethical procedures, upholding and enforcing all laws, state regulations, and court orders pertaining to schools. I will refrain from using the board position for personal or partisan gain and avoid any conflict of interest or the appearance of impropriety. I will respect the confidentiality of privileged information and make no individual decisions or commitments that may compromise the board or administration. I will be informed about current educational issues through individual study and participation in appropriate programs such as those sponsored by my state and national school boards associations. I will always remember that the foremost concern of the board is to improve and enhance the teaching and learning experience of all students in the public schools of Virginia. Therefore, I will always strive to demonstrate appropriate behavior conduct as a public school board member.
Mr. Chair, if I may interrupt, I'm getting messages, the streaming isn't working, all they see is a black screen.
I can see what they're seeing when it's burning is fine.
Okay. That's what they're saying, and they've checked with friends and can't see it. And I can't access it on here to look. I'm just relaying
Wait a
them.
second. YouTube,
Say what?
do you want me to chat for you guys?
Sure.
Yes. I thought that's how he was viewing us.
Someone just told me it was working on their end.
Okay. Well, in Stanley, it's not working, but it's okay. They can watch a recording.
Let's see what Mr. Gooberly gets. Because it could
Had
be,
another confirmed that it's working.
It's
Yeah.
working.
because it could be their issue with the computer.
Yeah.
Well, they're on their own.
Yeah, it's working.
Mr. Googler?
It's still loading. It's starting, I think, standby.
Okay, is the board
Still
comfortable
loading.
with
Well,
moving
if it's
forward?
working for some people, let's go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Someone just said, I had that too, tell them to go out and come back in. So, hey, you, go out and come back in.
Whoops.
Exactly.
It's working.
Okay.
Yeah, it's working.
Okay, do I have a motion about the code of conduct?
Make a motion that we accept the code of conduct presented to us from the DSBA.
Second.
Thank you.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Mr. Lansbury,
Yes.
Mr. Painter,
Yes.
Dr. Painter,
Yes.
Mr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Green.
Yes. Now we're in the informational items. On monthly financials, Ms. Segrist?
Yes, sir. Board, you were provided with the monthly financial report for December of 2020, where the expenditures and revenue were $3,590,333.87. Along with that, you were provided with the local match calculation sheet that we did balance with the treasurer's office. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
I have a question. In the last column, when you say percent used,
Yes, sir.
is that relative to today's date? Or
That's
when-
relative to the end of December.
Into
Since-
December,
Since
so-
that was December's monthly financial report.
And that's the balance used in conjunction to the budget?
Yes, sir.
And then what are we in our school year? So if we're in a school year, are we at 45?
We're about 50% through the school year.
Okay. Is there a way that you can add that column on so everybody knows that we're this percentage in our school year and this is how much we've used?
I can look into doing that, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Saved you a spot.
Any other discussion? Well, going. The next informational item is capital improvement adjustments. This is Mr. Moran.
Yes, sir. I defer to Mr. Williams, who's been presenting this.
Okay, Mr. Williams.
Good evening, Board. You've had time to look over this, and you can see from the last time that we talked about it, that basically it was the same thing, just moved up a year with the sewer line at Blue Ray being taken out, which was completed, the removal of the trees at Page High, and what is shown on the old, which is 223, which would be moved up to 224, the well hookup has been removed, which is in the process of being done now. Other than that, it's pretty much what it was. Did anybody have any questions?
So we're a year ahead of schedule?
No, sir. With COVID and how things were, we didn't, and the budget the way it was, we only did a few things for the 21, and the 10-year thing just moved up 10 years.
Okay, and that's been adjusted in this?
Yes, it sure has.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Williams. Any other questions? Okay. Move on to the other informational item, PCMS and PCHS water update. Mr. Moran?
Yeah, Mr. Williams has been dealing with this directly.
Board, it's just a little information for you tonight that we had elevated levels of lead and copper in the water there, which we have had, from time to time elevated, not exceeding, but, we had to do some posting, and we have posting to do now, and some letters that we've got to send out via an email and what have you. With that being said, they sent us a packet of some things that was a little bit scary, so we wanted to let you know about it. And they were talking about that we may have to go with a corrosion control system. But so I wanted to make certain of what I was speaking with y'all about. So I called and talked with Ms. Freisanger for a lengthy conversation the other day, Friday, about what all was going on and what I really needed to tell y'all. And she said that basically we need to wait a little bit, that most likely we will not have to go that route. They sent that out. But where the problem was, and I asked her specifically, I said, I want to make certain that this is correct in what I'm saying. And she said, yes. She said it's most likely that it's for the buildings that have been set. They were set and not being used at idle. And it gave us that. So we've already had a couple other samples that we took. And she said that we're going to take another one in a 6-month period, but it didn't actually say that it would be 6 months. In other words, July, from now to July. But sometime within the next 6 months, they're going to take some more samples and we'll go from there. But she said just everything should be okay. We did not have to do anything at this point in time. So just letting y'all know that.
In the meantime, I will say we've shut down all of the water fountains out at the schools just to ensure that the water is safe for drinking. We provide water bottles and that sort of thing. It's still, the water is fine for washing your hands and that sort of thing. Okay, but in regards to the potable water, we're providing them additional water for that. And I'll echo what Mr. Williams is saying, that the corrective action that we may have to do at some point down the road is a corrosion control system. However, our folks here with the water folks were saying that we may not have to go that route, but they're convinced that this might be another victim of COVID, in so much as the schools have been vacant, and so the water supply has not been moving regularly.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
And you may have to ask them, is it part of a recommendation or best practice since the buildings have been sitting and that may be the cause of the elevated levels? Would it be wise to, I don't want to say drain, but somehow flush the system? And so therefore everything's been flushed out and then the well is now pumping in fresh water that is being used?
You know, it's one of those things that, yeah, we could probably investigate that a little further, find out if that's what they want. I have a sinking suspicion that we're gonna be running a lot more water through these schools in the very near future, and we'll be flushing those lines regardless. But we'll reach out to them and find out if there's anything else we need to do like that.
Because I know when the town has to flush out lines, they open up a fire hydrant and flush the line out, and then
Our hope too is with the installation of the well at Page County High School, that the problem won't be a problem for that school regardless. Okay, this water originates at Page County Middle, and it's one of those things where we're just gonna have to keep a real close eye on it, make sure that it does get corrected.
can we find out if that could be a best practice, that's something if
We'll
we
look into.
drain the water off, and then you wouldn't have to supply the water if those levels come down because we've,
Well, regardless, we're gonna supply the water until the new test is done.
yeah, I understand that. Okay, all right. All right, thank you. And moving on with policy BCA, informational item, BCBG.
So, board members, I come to you this evening with two policies for you to review. And the first one will be an informational for BCA. What we're looking at with policy BCA, this is a policy that is a remnant of 2010. And we've gone back through, Mr. Breeden brought this to our attention, that in our policy very much followed the VSBA policy and how most counties elect their chairman. In Page County, we're one of only two counties in Virginia that have a chairman that is elected by the community. Okay, so what we will do to fix this policy is we're going to take out these two lines in regards to the election of the board chair. And that should bring this policy in compliance to what Page County does.
There's one more
Doctor-
spot at the bottom.
Yeah, Dr. Painter brought to my attention another one. Dr. Painter, you want to point that out?
The second to last one says the terms of the chairman, clerk, vice chairman, deputy
Yep.
clerk will be 1 year, just have to remove
I
chairman.
didn't see that right off, but yes, ma'am, we will change that as well.
Thank you, Dr. Painter, for catching it.
Or just keeps it off our informational another time.
Yes. It's,
Okay, the second one I'll bring to your attention is our early retirement incentive plan. For the last several years, Page County has offered an early retirement incentive plan. And this has been a benefit for the county in several different ways, not least of which it provides us with a ready supply of substitutes that have had teaching experience. I won't go through all the plan requirements and all the requirements to qualify for it, but I will make mention that the big change in the ERIP policy is merely the dates that I've highlighted there. And with the changing of those dates, we'll have another information on approval, and then we'll present to our employees this early retirement.
okay.
Questions about this?
Any questions? The only thing I want to bring up is, if I may ask, the official policy that's actually going to be adopted by the board, that it be a clean copy.
You're
I do have a question on underneath eligibility where it says certain full-time employee. There's a blue F. Is there a reason why that S is in blue?
It's up the top, right underneath the
Oh, it's an addition.
fourth word. Third.
I think it's just an addition,
Eligibility.
the word S.
Certain full-time employees.
Yeah.
See that as?
I see the, you know, it'll be a clean black and white copy.
Okay, thank you. All right, and moving on with policy BCE and BHB. That's with me. So you have a copy of that. The reason I'm bringing this to your attention is because I brought up a January 4th meeting about a special committee of the board. And I just want to point out in board policy as it is now, that special committees may be appointed by the chairman or created by school board action. So I don't need a motion and I don't need an action item on agenda if the board chair wishes to make a special committee. And if you so wish to join me in that and want to make it a board official from everyone, that's fine. It's just that someone needs to start looking at recovery efforts for our students' instructional time. So it's up to you. We can leave it stand as moving forward as a chairman committee based on policy, or we can move it to an action item and we can have a vote on it.
Mr. Chairman, and just for clarity, it was a special advisory committee.
Yes, it is advisory in nature, and Dr. Painter and I will be serving on that committee. So do you want
I
to
mean,
leave it as?
the recovery plan, the recovery has been something the administration's looked at.
Right, they're currently already working on it and they'll continue. It
Right.
just puts it on the board's eye, so to speak. And it has input from board already on the committee instead of it always coming back to give a full update. Some of us who's serving on it will speak because we can contact other board members and say, hey, and this is what the committee is working on. And then when they present to the full board, you'll have some understanding of it as well. And so when the superintendent or designee works on it with them, the full committee doesn't necessarily have to be there. It can be a work session with whomever needs to be in attendance that time. But at some point, it will be an actual meeting that every member will sit down and we'll go through the items that they have been working on and things that need to maybe be looked at and added from the full group. So do you want to leave it as a chairman created committee, or do you want to move it to a board created special advisory committee?
Well, as I'm looking at this, we don't have a discipline committee.
No, that's also something I pointed out to the superintendent.
We don't have what
A
Discipline committee.
There's several.
we have in the past.
Yes, and we don't have one now, and it's in board policy. It's in there several places, and you actually have a board policy on the disciplinary. But in years past, from what I understand, that has been changed from in another board that the superintendent looks at those and decides those, and only, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Gonzalez, only the superintendent then only brings the suspensions, if there are any, to the
For
board
the expulsion.
and the expulsions.
And we've been fortunate in Page County to have a lot of alternative scenarios to provide for our students. Therefore, it's never had to come that far up the chain. There is the superintendent's disciplinary committee made up of central office and school officials who we dispense the disposition at the time for the offense that would include placement in our other programs that we have, not necessarily back in the same school building when it reaches us. So thankfully, with those programs in place, the board we haven't had to expel anyone for those things.
And that is correct. And that, I can't remember the last expulsion. And another thing was the state came back and was saying, try to come up with something that they don't have to be out of school.
Right.
And what we have in place with the different alternative methods
Right.
have been successful.
They have been, but per Mr. Breeden's suggestion, since at our rework meeting, it's listed in policy to have one, we should have it listed on that sheet that you've all approved to have it in name for whenever, unfortunately, it may come to that. That way we're in compliance with our policy again.
Yes, and then who then serves on it.
Yeah,
So that will have to come at a meeting for, how many is needed, 2 or 3 to serve on that? It says three, I
It says
think, in the
three
policy.
In the policy.
Okay.
Mhm.
So at some point, we'll have to do that to be in compliance with our own policy. Okay, so that takes us off from the BCE. Back to that. Are we fine with leaving it with the chairman, special advisory committee, or do you want to move it to action and make a vote for the board? Because we don't have to do that.
I'm okay with leaving it to the chairman as long as we get all the information
You'll get it.
prior to anything ever taking place.
You'll definitely, before anything is put in official standing in the school system, the board will be updated and the board will have a vote. Okay. The BHB, I just want to bring to, let me get that. What's the next one? The VHB talks about school members' in-service activities. Just wanted to remind the board that it is a requirement that you do annually professional development, and also just now doing the code of conduct that also has it in there. So I just want to bring that to your attention and remind you that we are required to do trainings. So as we move forward, just we have to keep that in mind that we have to do specialized training.
And we have done one every year, except last year, we were in the process of setting one up with VSBA.
Mm-hmm.
And in the past, we've either gone there or they've come here. Well, then COVID hit.
Yes, it changes the world.
It does. And I agree with you. We need, if it has to be virtual, we work it that everybody could be there and we go through it. That's definite, but that's why we did not get it done last year.
And one of the ways that we can do that, because I've already talked to VSBA, is, and I've talked to the superintendent, we don't necessarily always need all of the board meetings that's listed. You don't need the 2 in a month. Sometimes they're given those because of some of the financials. So VSBA is willing to do it off hours. And when I say off hours, 6 to 10. So it could be one of the board meetings that is already scheduled. You already have slated. It's no extra time. It's just using that as a training date.
I didn't know they did after hours.
Yeah, well, I asked.
Okay.
They also do Saturdays, so I was able to get it where we can get covered. But you have to ask to get that. They don't volunteer that.
I'm sure.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion on those two? Okay, we'll move on to board discussion time. Any board members have anything for discussion?
Do we have any idea about, I know we're targeted to start school December 21st.
We're still, January.
I'm sorry, Tuesday.
You on the right?
January.
Yes. We're still on target to open on that, well, to go to the hybrid in-person model. Of course, we're open now, fully remote. We're still on target to do that, bear anything,
I understand.
a whole lot of quarantining happening between now and then, but we're on target to have the children back in the buildings.
I did have a parent talk to me about the technical center,
Uh-huh.
and I know they're out as well, and I
Right.
understand that. But the concern was with the certification
Mm-hmm.
that they have to take in order to go forward with not being in school, that could possibly slow that whole process down. And they were just concerned about how that might
Right.
be
We've been
revamped.
Sure, it's understandable. We've been working with the principal of the tech center to allow those who need assessments and hands-on and do what they need to do these couple of weeks to make the adjustments. Otherwise, the instructors feel like they'll be able to make the adjustments once we're back in person as well.
Oh,
But we've been in communication with them to address that, and some of our students have come in to do the assessments and things they need to do.
Any other?
Yeah, I have some.
Okay.
So I've been on a phone call with parents all afternoon and just got some good comments
Okay.
as well as some concerns. Miss Lee Meadows at Page County Middle School Ag. She did a great job of checking on the students during the summer. She's kept them engaged. She also, at the state convention, I guess, she was keeping the children engaged as well. So she's an amazing teacher is what the comment was. Mr. Hammer, which is a Spanish teacher up there as well. Great follow-up with students, motivation, make sure he contacts them. That's a great thing, and that's going to be a reoccurring theme. Mrs. Emily Fields, 8th grade English, great follow-up with students and motivation as well, and it's that extra contact that happens. The one concern I heard from this parent was at the high school page, and sometimes the students felt like the teachers really didn't want them there when it was all getting started back again. And I think our teachers really need to make sure that the way they're responding to this requirements and it's tough, I get it, but we don't want our children to feel that way at any moment, because that's very much a demotivator. Also at the high school, I had a good comment about a Mrs. Para-Cadet, history teacher, very responsive, good teacher, follows up. The students never have to wait around for comments. She can be reached at any time. And there was some issues about things being uploaded on time. There was a couple of times that some things have been uploaded around 11 to 1. So the students are already past half a day, after they get started. And your best thinking time's in the morning anyway. And I think most teachers are having it loading it up between 8 and 8:30, which is a good time to do it, I think. And then there was a concern about grades not being uploaded into Schoology. So I guess Mr. Benson can look into that at the high school. But other than that, there was some great comments about some teachers there that they're giving the extra. So appreciate them.
Indeed, thank you.
I just want to say, I watched 2 basketball games and a wrestling match. The quality of the filming, and I don't know what they're doing, but it is really good. They're moving with the plays. You see it all. You can even see the scoreboard if your eyes aren't too bad. But whoever is, and I've only seen Page County. I haven't looked at Luray yet. However, whoever's announcing the scores, clear, and 25 people. I counted.
Oh,
So
that's good.
But I'm really impressed with the quality of the filming, and it's comfortable to sit there in a nice chair and watch a ball game. And I did say this to someone. I bet coaches and referees think they died and went to heaven because there ain't nobody there or tell them how to coach or what to do or how to do or whatever. That's an experience in itself. But I know it has to be a lot of work, but I have really enjoyed it, and I would have watched tonight, but I'm here, and maybe I'll get home for the varsity game. But anyway, thank you to whoever's responsible for that, because it's worth it.
Thank you.
And who would be responsible for it?
It's a lot of moving parts. Well, the ADs are in charge of it, but we've contracted with the streaming service that's helping us to do that. And we've been working with Randy Arrington to help, and so it's a lot of hands in the pot trying to help us bring this to fruition for everyone.
I just hope that when all the booster clubs hold their hands out when all this is over, people are willing to remember how much they save by sitting at home eating their own food and
Yes,
are willing to support the booster clubs then because they're really going to need it.
indeed.
I do have a question, because you brought this up, and I had a community member ask if there were games, and I'm unaware. I'm sure there may be coming, but I didn't know that they were already taking place. So is that communicated somewhere?
Yes, on
for
the
them to
school website,
click
that
on
have
the
the
link?
teams. It's the athletics are right there on the webpage for whatever school.
So they go to Page High or Luray
Right,
High?
exactly, or Page Middle, Luray Middle, and there's an athletic link right there with all the schedules.
Okay, so perfect. That's where they'll need to go to
Yes.
click on and be
Yes,
able
on
to
the website.
be able to view and lounge and home.
Yeah.
Fireplace going.
Wear what you want.
Sit there.
Okay. Sounds great.
Got your cold beer and pizza.
All right, any other items? Okay, this was another change. We have to have a motion for adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn tonight's meeting.
Thank you.
Second.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. And we need the vote.
Who made the motions, please?
Jackie made the motion and Rolf and I both seconded it.
Mr. Painter,
Yes.
Dr. King,
Yes.
Mr. Gubler,
Yeah.
Mr. Layfair,
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Breeden.
Yes,
All right.
meeting adjourned.